If you're anything like me, waiting to plant things is basically a form of torture. And after last year and things not going very well with my garden, I've really decided that I'm going to plant things early on purpose so that my seedlings will be really large and nicely established before I put them outside. So I'm going to be planting my tomatoes today in February. I also have a couple other things to plant. I got these peppers after a lot of the other stuff, so I'm going to start these today. I'm going to start some artichokes and then all my tomatoes. So I have a purple sunrise, a blue gold berry. This was a free gift with these seeds, but look how pretty they are. Aren't they amazing? Can't wait to see those. And then I've got the chocolate stripe, the German stripe, the pink Berkeley tie-dye. I've got my regular garden snack cherry tomatoes. I've got these Galenas because I'm just giving them a try. I've got Ukrainian purple, Lucky Tiger, and then that is a ground cherry. And then I also have two tomatillos, one's purple and one's normal green. And then Amish paste, San Marzano for my sauce tomatoes basically. The rest of them are more for fresh eating, salsa, things like that. But these are going to be the thicker, pastier tomatoes. They're less juicy, I guess is a good way to put it. So these are really a great base for making all your tomato products. So I have pre-moistened soil in all of my 11 pots. And we're just going to start putting seeds in each one. I am going to be putting 5 seeds in each pot, and then once these are ready to be potted up, they'll be going in their own pots. I also have drawn myself a little map of my tomato bed, so I'll know which pot is which. And that'll just help down the line. So because I'm hoping to get 1 to 3 plants out of each of these pots, I've overseeded them because they're not all going to germinate. And this way I have extra plants versus not enough. So a lot of these have way more than 5 seeds. Not all of these varieties I'm even needing to get 5 out of. I'm wanting to get between 2 and 5 plants out of each one. These two are the paste tomatoes. So these are more of a staple tomato. So these ones I've planted more in each pot so that hopefully I get more plants and more of those tomatoes so that I can can everything that I need during canning season. All right, so I've got this tray done as well. This is my non-tomato tray. We've got Genovese basil, Thai basil, artichoke, tomatillo, purple tomatillo, ground cherry, and that really cool special pepper. So I'm going to go ahead and keep an eye on these. Also, if you want the update, I've got quite a few okra that have germinated now, which is very exciting. It is mainly the green variety on this side that has germinated. That's the only purple one so far. Hoping more of those will germinate. And then my broccoli is a bit leggy, but it's doing all right. There is one pot back there that has not germinated. My peppers have not germinated yet, and my onions are doing really well. I'm just watching them for when they'll need their first haircut. So last you saw this pantry in the kitchen, it still had a bunch of stuff that the seller had left behind. What I have done is just cleared it off. I mean, super basic. So what I'm going to be doing now is getting it all scrubbed, and then I'll get everything painted in kills. And then I'm also going to do regular white paint over the kills. And then I have some nice shelf covers to go on all these shelves to just provide an extra layer of nicety, I guess, because this is going to be food storage in the future. This is not part of what's going to come down during the remodel in here, so I want this area to be nice. I still have this dishwasher, but I'm going to be dealing with that this weekend as well. I need to get it all cleaned up and then posted for sale online. If that doesn't work, I'm just going to take it to the dump. I think it works. I haven't actually tried it, but I was told it works. It's the kind that you have to wheel over to the sink and hook up through the faucet. But somebody, we're really remote, so somebody here may want it just because it's accessible without having to pay a lot of money to get it into town. So we'll see how that goes. Just to give you the full experience, this is what the top shelf looked like right when I took it out of there. There are mouse droppings on these shelves. It's really foul. The whole kitchen is foul, which is why I'm not using it. I only use the sink area, and it's been really cleaned and disinfected and all of that. But this is what it's like living in a fixer-upper while you're fixing it up. Not sure I recommend that experience, but I didn't really have a lot of choice this particular time. So here we go. This may not be the most advisable way to do this, but I already know that I'm getting rid of the flooring in here. So pretty much everything in here actually I'm getting rid of. So I'm not too worried about getting dirt in other parts of the kitchen. I mean, look at how dirty the water is that's coming off this stuff. Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now I'm not going to be using these shelves. I thought it was worth a try to scrub these off, but this is too disgusting for me to really stomach. So I'm just going to be tossing these shelves and getting some new shelves to go up in this pantry. But the rest of the pantry, what I'm going to do is go ahead and scrub the walls in there and then get all of that painted. This is everything I swept up from the floor, and hopefully you can tell how disgusting this floor is even after being swept. There's a very cartoon style mouse hole in the corner. The floor is busted right there, which doesn't matter because all this tile is disgusting and it's all coming up. This scrub brush was like partially pushed out of that hole. I'm gonna fill that hole in with a much finer grain steel wool, and then also seal it up with some rodent specific expanding foam, and then there will be trim along here as well, so eventually that hole will be covered up by the trim too. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean in that pantry, and this stuff has been working really well for me. The filth in here is a lot, so sometimes I have to spray this on and leave it for a bit before I start doing my scrubbing. And then sometimes I can just use, you know, these types of wipes, and then sometimes I use an actual scrub brush with this. This is probably going to be a scrub brush moment. But that's my next step, is to clean out that pantry. All the shelves are out, the dishwasher is gone, and I've swept the floor. So next step is scrubbing. Okay, so it's really gross in there. So I did decide to go ahead and pry off all these little shelf brackets. I started this one on the bottom here, and it's coming off pretty easily. So I'm gonna go ahead and take all of those off first before I scrub everything. That'll give me a really blank canvas to work with, which means I can put any kind of shelves in here that I want, and I can get different shelf brackets that work the best for me. So that'll just make it easier as far as like finding things to use for shelving as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that first and then scrub. Okay, really glad I did that because it's really gross back there. There's like mouse poop behind all of those. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And it's just filthy. You can tell it's been a long time since this has been taken out and had itself cleaned or whatever. So I think that was the best move. Sorry about the shadow. So I'm gonna go ahead and get everything scrubbed, and then it'll be bedtime basically. It's a weekday, so I've worked all day at my regular job. So now I'm working on these projects, but I will get everything cleaned up. There's a lot of spider webs up there. Oh, and a spider. And then tomorrow, once it's dry, I'll be able to paint it with Kills. I'll let that dry, and then I'll paint it with real white paint, and then let that dry. And then I can head out to the hardware store and see, you know, what kind of materials I can get to create new shelves in here that work well for me. All right, I know it still looks pretty rough, but it is clean. There's a lot of spots where the paint is coming off completely, but everything that looks like dirt is actually spots where the paint's coming off. Everything's cleaned out. I haven't done up here because I need to find my step stool before I can do up there. So I'll do that first thing in the morning, and then as soon as everything dries, I'm gonna get it all painted. I did also shove a huge wad of steel wool into that little hole. That should keep the mice out, I'm hoping. There is an active mouse problem. I've caught 4 since I've been here. The kitchen is the worst spot for it, really. But I am hoping that pretty soon, you know, this area will all be cleaned up even more. Before too long, the kitchen cabinets are gonna get pulled out and all that kind of stuff. So once that's done, I think the mice will have a harder time kind of inhabiting this area. I think those are kind of their main thoroughfares are under the cabinets. So once that's gone, I'll be able to patch up any leftover holes. I also have a bunch of traps in my basement because they're getting in there. I'm hoping that the exterminator will get back to me because I think probably there's the crawl space under the house is where they're ultimately getting into the house. So I need to get all that patched up this spring as well, slash as soon as possible. Seedling update. We've got 3 out of 4 broccolis germinating. This one still doesn't have really any signs of germination, so it may not. One of them already didn't do so well, so I just reused that pot for something. I don't think this is going to germinate, but it may, and if it doesn't, I'll just reuse it for something else. I have all these broccolis. They are leggy, but I've had that happen before, and it ends up fine in the end, so I'm not too worried about it. I have only still 1 purple okra here, and then that is actually germinating. I know it's hard to tell, that's the little seed. And then I've got a bunch of my green okra germinating. My onions are still doing really well. Tell me in the comments, do you guys give your onions haircuts, or do you let them be? I'm always curious to hear how other people do things. These are the things that I've just planted recently. None of those are germinating yet. And my other tray of peppers is also not germinating yet, but that's kind of to be expected. The peppers take a really long time to germinate, so I'm not worried about those yet. Exciting news! My peppers are starting to germinate. So this row is Jimmy Nardello and this row is paprika. So that's exciting. I've got my okra growing up still. I still only have one purple one, and then that one is trying to germinate. So the purples did not do very well. The green did. I know my broccoli is leggy, it just is what it is. I've got my onions going pretty well. These things were just planted, so they're going to be a little bit before they start to germinate. And then over here, I do have one pepper germinating there. So the peppers are beginning, which is great news. I always know they take a long time to germinate, and then it always freaks me out when they take a long time. But they are starting to come up now, so I'll be able to see how they're doing. Hopefully they'll be able to get pretty big by the time they go outside. With my area here, they probably won't go outside until mid to late May. So they do have plenty of time to get nice and bushy before they have to go outside and deal with the elements and the pests. I know the floor is bad and the ceiling, but it's really nice to have this pantry usable now. I have a bunch of wood outside that was left behind by the seller, so I'm hoping there'll be stuff out there that I can create shelves. That's the plan. I could just get a garage shelf or something and put it in there, but I'm just not sure yet exactly what I'm going to be doing in here with the remodel, and so I don't want to do anything that costs a lot of money if it's not something that's going to end up being permanent. Redoing this kitchen is going to be really expensive. I'm doing it myself, but it's still going to be expensive to get new cabinets, new sink, all that kind of stuff. So I'm basically just trying to do everything else as cheap as possible for now. And quite frankly, I may take this wall down and do something totally different with the design in here. So again, I just don't want to go over the top with it.